Today I'm going to take you through a list of what I consider to be the greatest writers in Italian literature. If you think I've missed someone out important, please let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to read them. Virgil was the greatest poet of ancient Rome. His key poetry included the Eclogues or Bucolics, which were 10 poems about a period of instability in Rome about 40 BC. Second was the Georgics, which are 4 books of poetry about farming. Thirdly, and most importantly, he wrote the epic The Aeneid, which retells the story of Aeneas and his adventures in the Mediterranean as he fled Troy to then set up the city of Rome. Virgil's work was very influential in Western literature, and it influenced Dante's Divine Comedy, and in fact it is Virgil who acts as Dante's guide through purgatory and hell in Divine Comedy. To learn more about La Bella Italia, consider subscribing. No list about Italian literature would be complete without Dante Alighieri. Dante was a poet from the Middle Ages. People associate Dante to Italian literature in the same way that Shakespeare is associated with English literature. Dante's work was both influential and revolutionary. His poem The Divine Comedy, La Divina Commedia, traces the journey of Dante with his guide Virgil through purgatory and hell, and then Dante moves on to paradise. Most readers will find the episodes of purgatory and hell as more memorable, albeit shocking at times. But of course, opinions will vary. This work covers a number of themes and includes both contemporary and historical characters, and yes, some very important, powerful people too, in a range of states of suffering. Dante has a good deal to say about his views on the individuals he comes across, and he says an awful lot about politics and religion. He demonstrated a highly detailed knowledge of Rome's glorious ancient history, and the centre of hell may surprise you. It is important to consider this was the era of the Guelphs and the Ghibellines. This was the violent struggle between the emperor and the pope and their respective supporters, and this caused Dante to be exiled from Florence. Florence lived to regret exiling one of its most famous sons. Italy's greatest poet remains buried in Ravenna. Dante's expression of his love for Beatrice Portinari is profound. While Virgil leads Dante through purgatory and hell, it is noticeable that female characters become more prominent as Dante approaches paradise. By working in an evolving Italian language rather than Latin, Dante helped to consolidate, through repetition, a more common language at a time when Italy was a group of city-states using a number of regional dialects. Dante's work would influence Petrarch, Boccaccio, Chaucer, Milton, and Tennyson. Petrarch was a Renaissance poet and humanist. This was a powerful new mindset in the reawakening that was the Renaissance. Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio are also called the three crowns of Italian literature. They will appear in any list you will find on the greatest Italian writers. Petrarch was actually friends with Boccaccio. Petrarch worked in both Italian and Latin. His key works included the poems Trionfi, the Triumphs, and the Canzoniere, the Songbook. Like Dante's Divine Comedy, Trionfi examines a man's passage from a state of sin to a state of eventual redemption. It focuses on the themes of love, chastity, death, and fame. The Canzoniere, the Songbook, was a collection of 366 lyric poems. Petrarch writes fondly of his unrequited love for Laura, a married woman. She was believed to be Laura de Noves. Petrarch proved to be much less political than Dante. However, in Secretum Meum, he argues that a secular life did not preclude a relationship with God. Now, this would have been a very controversial statement at that time. Boccaccio is regarded as a very important Italian writer, poet, and humanist, as was Petrarch, his friend. Boccaccio had an individual writing style, and he would write in both Italian as well as Latin. Boccaccio's most famous work is the Decameron, which is about a group of people who shelter from the Black Death outside the city of Florence. They proceed to tell each other a number of stories, a pattern which would in the future inspire Chaucer to write the Canterbury Tales. His poetic works include La caccia di Diana, Il filostrato, Teseda, and Amorosa Visione. Boccaccio would also give lectures about the work of Dante. Macchiavelli was a Renaissance-era writer who is today a byword for being devious and unscrupulous. Macchiavelli produced two significant works, Il Principe, the Prince, and The Art of War. The best-known work, Il Principe, the Prince, is about politics and power, and rather less about morality. It was always considered a controversial work, but nonetheless is a highly interesting read, albeit it was heavily criticised by the Catholic Church, who ironically at the time was an extremely political institution. Machiavelli also produced The Art of War, which is a book about military theory. Discourses on the first 10 books of Titus Livy reviews the history of ancient Rome and draws concluding lessons from this period, such as the advantages of a republic. Alessandro Manzoni, most famous and highly regarded work, the novel The Betrothed, I Promessi Sposi, was published in 1827. It is a key work in Italian literature. Manzoni's output was primarily only 2 works, but they had a disproportionate impact on Italian literature. The Betrothed was considered as a symbol of the Italian Risorgimento, the reunification of Italy and Sicily. Italian patriotism and Christianity are strong themes in the book. As a consequence of reading this book helped spread a common language across Italy. Manzoni delivers a carefully observed analysis of everyday Italian life, and he revised his work in consultation with his friends. Manzoni presents the heroine Lucia, Father Cristoforo, and Cardinal Borromeo of Milan as wholesome Christian characters, and he then contrasts these with others who fall short of this very high standard of behaviour. In 1822, Manzoni published his work A Tragedy, named Adelchi, which focused on Charlemagne's defeat of the Lombards in Italy, and this suggested obvious parallels with Austrian rule in Italy.